over there?
It's the, as I like to say, it's the creative hours, as I like to say. These are the times we us creative people in our natural flow, aren't we? Yeah. So yeah, it's currently 2:36 in the morning over here.
Oh, nice.
Rock and roll hours, my friends.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
It is.
Well, so before we go any further, I mean, as I was just saying before we went live, we've got two new people that were obviously since our last conversation. And as you look on the screen, it's to your first up is Bill, and then to the right of Bill is Heather. So before we go any further, just maybe just quickly introduce yourself and say, how did you come across Jhett and Callie?
Well, I'm Heather Miller, and I came across these guys because Bill already knew them when they put out a audition call for a new drummer, and everybody I knew that knew of them was like, "Hey, you should do this." So, and then Bill tagged along, and still a job.
Well, maybe I came along as the uninvited guest on the audition, and
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna show up and not take that chance to potentially show the band what I might be able to bring to the table. So I rode Heather's coattails on the deal. To bring something to the equation that these guys saw some value in.
Well, first we tried to get him to just be the merch girl, you know. We're like,
Yes.
well, Heather is really cool. I don't know, Bill. He changed our mind.
Well, I mean, let's flip this round to really Jhett and Callie then. How have you two found playing with Bill and Heather? I mean, you can say it open. We're in a room together.
Yeah, we've only been playing together for a little over a month now, and it was kind of interesting. We've had a trio, and we've had other shows where people have jumped up on stage and played lead, mostly a fiddle player, another guitar player, a mandolin, whatever. But we've never worked with 4 members, like full on immersed, learning all of the new material and playing rhythm and playing lead, and so that was a new experience. But we had a couple chances to jam together. The first time was Heather's audition. We told them we wanted them to come on the tour. They said no. We were like, oh, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, but we can go jam anyways. Like, that'll be fun. And so we jammed, and it just kind of random stuff. And at the end of it, I think we all kind of looked around and were like, are you sure you don't want to go?
This is working, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
it would have been very, very crazy on probably all of our parts to not pursue it. There was definitely some very tactile chemistry from the very beginning, and I speak for myself, but I truly did believe from the very beginning that something very special and very unique could come of this collaboration, and I'm incredibly happy that Heather and I decided to take the plunge and get on board with these guys. You know, I had seen them in various forms of their 2- and 3-piece acts and so on, and I've always enjoyed their music, and I saw this as just an incredible opportunity to add to it, and very, very grateful that we got the opportunity and that we took it.
Well,
We just did 5,000 miles and 16 shows and like 28 days or something.
Yeah,
and we haven't killed each other yet. So
yeah, we
that's a good
literally just pulled into the driveway of the practice
Just
space.
barely, yeah.
I mean, on that one, I mean, I think I was going to mention this anyway. Just on the side story of that, I mean, anyone who's been following you on Twitter or through your various social media will know the adventures of your old truck, your old camper, your old living van, and then the new one. And so for people maybe haven't sort of been following that as in depth as maybe I have, so I'll give people an overview about the adventures of just being on the road.
Yeah, I know we got a new van, and we were all excited. They were here when it arrived, and we were like, yeah, this is going to change our world. We're going to be able to get really great gas mileage, and like, this is just awesome. No more car troubles, at least, for a while. And then within 24 hours of our first dealings as a band, we picked them up after their last show with their previous group.
The first day was amazing, yeah.
At like 8 o'clock at night, we had a 16-hour drive because we had to get there at 11 o'clock in the morning.
For a festival slot.
For a festival sound check slot.
16 hours away.
And within that first 24 hours, the van broke down. had to take our dogs because we didn't have anyone to keep them, and we're in between homes, and they have some great pups, and so we had dogs, we had humans, we gas station, we had to turn around and go get her. We broke down like 200 yards from the stage, and the crew had to help us load everything on. We hadn't had any coffee. Jhett's amp blew up
on stage,
and like it was
really
crazy.
loudly. It was a good first day.
It was a trial by fire for sure. That first 24 hours, it was full on. If we can make it through this, we can make it through anything.
Yeah.
And we did.
Yeah, yeah. That was a welcome to the crew.
So I mean, again, what was the long shot? I mean, what you know? I mean, you sort of mentioned that moment then. I mean, have you had any problems since then, or has it all been kind of relatively smooth sailing?
We were stranded for about 4 days, luckily in the right spot in Salt Lake City, where there was mechanics to work on the new van, and we thought we were unable to get to our shows, but some friends of ours lent us their truck, and we were able to make it to the show, and we had tons of help and support because we were just stunned. You know, it was like this crazy bill, and we're like, we haven't even played shows yet, and so we were able to make it though. It was.
But thanks for all the support in the Utah area. We were able to pull through, and it was cool.
Well, at the end of the day, and I think it's fascinating. As you know, I do a lot of conversations. I have a lot of conversations with a lot of creative people, musicians and artists and stuff. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I think where I do hold you up in high regards to many creative people I know is this, even what you just described in the last 5 or 10 minutes, the idea of being back out on the road, doing town to town, and even this weekend where you were, you know, off the beaten track, that's old school stuff to me. That reminds me of like when I first got into music and why I like the bands I did, because they're the ones out doing the little small gigs and stuff like this. So I find it's amazing that you're actually sort of doing that. And you know, talking now, we are on a few months on, are you finding your reaping any of the, you know, the seeds of some of the stuff you actually done? Are you actually starting to sort of see things sort of grow, and people are starting to, and generally, do you feel you're, you know, just in a better place, obviously because you're, you know, playing that amount of time on the road and, like you say, getting to know each other? Do you think you're developing and you're in a tighter position than you were maybe, or do you think it's with 2 new members coming in, it's been a bit of a, okay, we've got to get to know each other, and it's been kind of getting to know each other? Or do you think, like, has it started to really sort of bloom new creative ideas?
Though, yeah, we are approaching this, you know, in a lot of ways through really old school means, you know, analog means, if you will, hitting the road like we have. What it's given us the opportunity to do is it's really given us a chance to hone our stagecraft and be able to perform in any situation, under any circumstance, on any stage, in front of any kind of audience. And that just can't, you just can't develop that without being out there and doing it. And you know,
well, we should be good.
we good?
There he is.
You there?
Cool. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, you just literally, Jhett, you were middle of eruditely telling me about, you know, what it's like to be in, you know, where you are in this process. Please carry on.
Yes. So from your bedroom, you know, you got to get out there and you got to play. You got to experience different types of audiences and adversity. And the 4 of us, especially Callie and I, when we started, we knew that, you know, we were the type of musicians that wanted to be out in front of people playing. We're live performers first and foremost, and then studio musicians afterwards. But we're live performers first, and that's going to be the longevity of Gleewood is on stages. And when these guys came on board, they made it pretty obvious that they were wanting to get involved in the same boat, you know. And now, you know, in the digital age, you know, touring is you know, it's less popular to tour like we do as much as we do at our level. It's so grueling, and it's financially almost unfeasible. The truth is, living is really good. Maybe the pay is not that great, but the quality of living, the lifestyle of it is actually really excellent. You know, being to connect with so many people and across the, you know, various cultures of the U.S. and now getting the chance to finally head over to mainland Europe here next month. We're so excited about it, and definitely diving into more of a social media community lately, and that has definitely shown its tour, I think. I know you got, this is your first tour with us. You probably don't have anything to compare, you know, this tour to the last whatever tours, but you know, we had a lot of people that knew exactly what we had going on through all of our social media stuff, and people were coming out and supporting and saying, hey, I saw photos of you here and here, and my sister lives there. And so the social media word of mouth is definitely, and
the seeds in the area that, you know, we've been playing for the past couple of years, like it's just been growing. You know, we play a lot in Utah and Idaho and Washington, and each time we go back, we do see a lot of call it, but people are just so generous and kind, and they welcome us into their homes, and they tell their friends, and it's just always a really inviting atmosphere, especially our main routes that we go now. So that's definitely moving along, and this was probably, even though we had a lot of challenges, this is probably one of the best Gleewood tours.
Definitely one of the most successful.
Because, sure. I mean, people loved having Bill and Heather on the stage with us because they're a couple, and we're a couple, and they rock out and play so well, and people loved the new dynamic. And we had a lot of fun.
Tons of fun.
Way too much.
No such thing.
Well, really, just a couple of questions I want to sort of really flick to Bill and Heather. Really. And again, going back into the fact that you just stepped into this process. And again, this might sound really, you know, bottom line and kind of, you know, simple, but how long did it actually take you to learn the Gleewood tracks? I mean, I know that all musicians, we kind of know, you know, profession of what we do, but there's obviously still that process. You've got to go in, you've got to learn it. And I know I speak as someone who's actually been in that process. And again, I suppose Jhett and Callie would know it. It's maybe having people who come along and know all the chords and all the right stuff, but like you quite eruditely spoke upon, Jhett and Callie, having the connection, having the something where you feel that you're just a bit connected can mean everything. But from the flip side, just by turning to Bill and Heather, they've got to walk into a whole tight unit and kind of feel that they've got to learn it all. So were you aware of the tracks beforehand, and what was your process of actually, again, from a very, you know, technical point of view, how did you go about learning the tracks? Did you sit away and actually practice them yourself, or did you just jam along and get into it that way? These are the very sort of baseline technical questions. I'm always fascinated by people who join bands.
Well, I'll take this one at least for the beginning here and say that Heather and I had been working very hard for solo as our when this all came along. So we were very much in a work with our own music when this came around. First, when we first changed our mind from no to yes, I was initially a little bit concerned about our ability to learn the Gleewood catalog. And not just learn it, but learn it to a level that I was comfortable as a professional musician delivering to the audience that they already have. I wasn't going to show up and take away from what they've spent years building. So it was incredibly important to me that that we got their songs into a space where we were adding to. And the fact that we had our noses to the grindstone for the last, you know, prior month and a half for our own stuff really, I think, helped us out. In as far as maintaining that work ethic musically. I asked Jhett and Callie, I said, hey, can I have a short list? You know, what do we need? And here comes 25 songs. And we had about 2 weeks to make it happen. Unfortunately, they were quite kind and kind of trimmed the list a little bit for us as things went forward. But we did have about 2.5 weeks to pull it together. And it was pretty much 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day of Heather and I up in our little mountain cabin, just really working it out. And I can honestly say that by the time we hit the road, I was very proud of both of us for having maintained the discipline and the drive to put it together. And I'm, you know, I personally, I am very proud of us, and I'm very humbled by the experience, because it wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth it, for sure. You want to add anything to that?
I think you covered it. It was a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
put it that way.
It was pretty intense. It was an intense 2.5 weeks, man. But it wasn't the first rodeo for all four of us. You know what I mean? We've all four of us in different projects have been in this situation before, where it's like, it's down to the wire, it hits the fan, and you just got to pick up the pieces and roll with what you got. And they approached our music with a lot of reverence, arrangements, and really tried to apply themselves to keeping the posterity of the music and how it was recorded. But then in a live scenario, you know, I've always felt it's so important to let every musician on stage really shine through with their own interpretation of things, or else you end up with stagnant music. So, you know, as the rehearsals progressed and I became more of a lead player, which I've never really been before, and he was taking more of the rhythm, the songs, you know, automatically kind of morphed into a new era pretty easily. Yeah. You know, we'd all been in this situation before, so it was just a matter of putting in the hard work, and knowing when to stop practicing is a big part of it. Knowing when to say, okay, it's time to go eat and drink some coffee and like do something else, watch a movie, and then come back and practice some more. You know, because at a certain point, you just don't absorb anymore, and everybody gets real pissed off.
No, I think it's fascinating that you speak upon that, because that's one of the clear insights that I think it really needs to be sold, just especially to creative people, because you're right. Because when you get a complete focus on something, you can go down and down and down the rabbit hole, and sometimes you just need to take out and take a breath, and not only for the sake of what you're trying to do, the artwork, but. And I think this is something actually you speak about, and it's your own health, your own just well-being as a human being. And I think sometimes you just need to have that yin and yang and that balance. And I think that's half, like you said, the lesson. Now, going back, I want to, before we walk away from this too much, you talked about life on the road, and you know, and you were sort of saying it is, dude. It's very, you know, the finances and the difficulties and stuff like this. But I think two reflections I want to make on that. I think one of it is, again, part of the whole element of being creative is that whole resistance. You need those times, dude. This is when the greatest tunes are going to be written. You're going to write stuff on now that are going to come out. And this is my kind of leading question to you, really. I mean, let's take this forward. Let's take this to a world where, you know, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, whatever it may be, Gleewood now playing arenas. You're not playing little small, you know, you've progressed up to the point of arenas. Would it be in your when you were at that position? And I know it's a very rhetorical question, but do you think you would want the whole tour buses and the planes, or would you think you'd actually quite prefer the, like you just described, the actual, you know, low kind of, you know, just playing, you know, going on the road with a little van and just a few of you and keeping that kind of feel to it? The reason I mention this, because I've seen so many bands that relates to what I'm saying before, that when they've done that on the road, just being a few little band of brothers and a few little tight people, it's great. Then you see them progress, and before you know it, they're doing arenas, and it's like planes and tour buses, and they become really impersonal, and it shows in their music. So I'm fascinated with someone who's on the projection of it, like you are as a band, whether you're even thinking this at this point, or as you just go, take it as it comes.
That's a catch-22.
That's a catch-22, man. But for me personally, learning the way that we are right now, it's like a startup business. It's like a mom and pop shop. You know what I mean? When you learn all the insights of booking, of playing adverse stages, of dealing with sound techs in different parts of the country, learning different types of equipment, learning how to correspond with different audiences, making sure that you look good after you've been in a van for 20 hours, and then you go onto a stage hungover, and dealing with the excessive amounts of substances that are thrown in your face, and how to how to realize that that you have to rise above that because you've got to play another 20 dates. You can't, you know, you've got to drive, and you've got to maintain your social media, and learning all these things is, for me, it's been like a crash course to learn how to not only survive for the long run on the road, but also how to handle and hire a crew when the time comes, and how to recognize on how to train people to do what you need them to do. You know what I mean? And how to appreciate, yeah, even more than that, how to appreciate all the people that that come out to the shows, that are supporting live music, and all of the other artists that are out to happen off the sweat of their brow. You know what I mean? That is it's gold. Yeah. You know, it's more valuable than anything else that I could be doing right now.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as whether we would want to, I mean, of course you want a big crew, because you think of your show and you just think of how much bigger and better it could be if you had, you know, light tech and a fog machine and all these things to get people more immersed. And I think it's, for us, I'm pretty sure I can say this for the four of us, as far as having like a bigger crew one day, is more for the investment of our audiences than for ease for us.
Definitely.
Like, we want to bring the best, biggest show, but still on that personal level. So I can imagine us still managing a lot of Gleewood personally, but then being able to hire out in order to give our audiences something special. Increase
the level of production as far as the experience that we can create for the audience.
Yeah, I think all four of us can say that what we're doing on stage is definitely not just for us. Obviously, we love it, we live and breathe it, but it's more than anything about the audience.
Right. We like what we can bring to people, and
always up in that game is our, you know, it's our priority.
And then on a real level, you know, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if I didn't see the inside of another gas station for a while. But and then too, you know, all of our family members have roles in the new tour bus. So if anything, our family will have the tour bus and we'll have the little van so they can come with us. And because our dads want to be the guitar techs and drive, and our moms want to cook and all these fun things. And
so when we actually do get a tour bus, yeah, we'll probably just put the family in there.
But I would love to be able to travel around, you know, if that phase, I hope that phase comes for Gleewood, and if and when it does, I would still love, because where my heart is in small town America. I love playing small towns, and I would genuinely enjoy being able to bring a large level production with the van and the trailer and the whole deal at point, kind of going back to our roots and doing that, because exactly, you don't want to lose your personal connection with people. And Gleewood is a very personal project. We want people to feel like they can relate. We want them to come to, we want them to hang out with us and talk with us, because we want to hang out and talk with them. Like, it's not, we love playing rock and roll, but it's by no means glamour rock. Like, you know, look at me. It's folk rock. It's folk music. It's for the people, you know, it's people's music. And yeah, so that's an interesting question. It's a little bit of both.
Oh, you're muted, man.
Sorry, Des, I was just going to say, I think one of the great insights I think you must be able to give from what you've just been saying is that you've had I would argue, a very unique aspects of seeing America, particularly amongst Americans, man, because I have a lot of speaking to a lot of Americans, and not many Americans even travel out of their state. So to do all the little connections, you're seeing parts of America that I'd argue a lot of Americans are seeing, and you get that insight. I mean, I don't want to sort of get too sort of deep on this, but it was almost like you saw in the election. I mean, it was like the Trump thing, the thing that's sort of like the general narrative is, it's like it was a very coastal thing, and then they forgot everyone in the middle, and that's the insight of the world you're seeing, of the America that nobody really gets to see, even people who live in America. So, and what I find fascinating about this is in this age that you just spoken about social media and the world we live in, there's still this hunger for that real. Do you know what I mean? You're going out there and playing these stuff things, and there's that hunger for that, and I think that's something you, more than anyone I speak to, maybe has an insight into that. You know, going from, like you say, from small town to small town, and I'd imagine, I don't think it's exactly the same as this part of the world. Most of the towns you walk into would probably just feel like they're just been ignored, because everything now is just all big arena rock. I mean, it is over here, dude. To see any band in the UK, it's arena rock, and it's horrible. I've never liked arena rock. I've never been a fan. I'd rather prefer to see a band in a small little 1,000 venue than go and see some 17,000, you know, arena rock where you sat there politely drinking your corporate, you know, Coca-Cola drink or whatever. So again, I mean, I want to know your reflection of that, like say being on the road and some of the things that you've seen and the insights that what you're picking up on, you know, like I say, in this world of where we're, particularly from my angle, I mean, I get it constantly of like, well, the world's not all about playing. The world's going to be, it's all about virtual reality, and musicians are going to disappear. It's all going to be about games and virtual reality, and nobody's going to want to see people. And I'm like, you're maybe not seeing the real zeitgeist as it's going on, as I see it. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
To touch on that, I mean, you mentioned before being able to bring things to the places where people don't expect them to be brought. And honestly, I can say that one of my high points on this tour, in several places that we played, were members of our audiences coming up to us after the show and going, "Wow, thank you guys so much. This never happens here. We've never seen anything like this come through this town." And personally, I mean, probably for all of us, that gave me the fuzzies, you know, hair standing on the arms thing. I felt like as a group, we were able to really bring a unique experience to a place that is possibly, you know, lacking those kind of things. And as far as, you know, you mentioned the age of technology and things like that, I hope and I believe that there will always be a place for the touring musician and for the small town acts, because it does bring a lot to those communities. And especially in our camp here, I mean, we're very much into spreading joy and acceptance and happiness, and I believe that a lot of the foundation of those beliefs that we hold as individuals and as couples and as a band could stand to be spread. And I think small town America, where you are lucky enough, or we are lucky enough to provide a unique experience for people, is a tremendous building block, melting pot for that to happen. And I think it starts there, and it grows and it grows and it grows.
And then, as you know, an expansion on that, you know, in the digital age, you know, I think a perfect example of people craving something organic and tangible from interaction is the resurgence in vinyl. You know, however long it lasts, but you know, they want to have that piece of art plus art in their hand. They want the experience and the it's almost like a ritual of going and placing it on the record player and having to flip it over halfway through and pulling out and seeing the signature from the live show and saying, "Oh, I remember that guy and I remember that guy," and pulling out the lyric sheets and reading them. And all of that is an organic experience that cannot be experienced through social media. Right. It now is that all? Can it all work together? Yes. Are there a lot of people that are so immersed in the digital age that they can't maybe experience a live concert in an organic social environment maybe to its fullest because they just don't know how to act in those situations? Yes, there are definitely those people. But I think most of us really just crave and need that organic human interaction. And that'll never go away.
Well, Heather was mentioning that one of your favorite shows on the tour was kind of the exact scenario that we're talking about.
Yeah, it was the tightest little stage we played on the whole time. The crowd was all like right here and just having a great time. Everybody loves a live, intimate experience.
Yeah, we got to meet everybody there.
Yeah.
It was like, you couldn't have fit any more people in that little bar. It was spilling out into the streets, and we're like, our headstalks are like hitting each other on the head. We're so tight on this stage, but it was just that experience, you know, it's just, you can't You can't.
You can't experience it through a computer screen.
No.
No, you can't, my friend. And this taps into something that Heather was just speaking upon then, which is the reflection I was making. I mean, ultimately, if you want to look on a really sort of deep level about this, you know, a wider discussion, but music to me is exactly that. It's the universal language that we could all connect in. And this is one of the things I've learned going around the world, and you've experienced it. It doesn't matter what you're from. You can put a guitar down or a piano, and people, they get it. They'd have to understand the language and all these, you know, like the Babylon Tower in the Bible. We've all been scattered by these languages, but music's that one unifying thing. And I think it's fascinating, this age of digital things where it's almost kind of like we're like taking that biblical the idea of Babylon. We're rebuilding that tower to get us to the point where we're all connected, and there's all these forces to break it down and say no. But I think it's fascinating because I think ultimately music is about the experience, and then, like I say, it's a language we can all share. And then when you get into a group of people, so I think ultimately music's about, it's connecting people in a moment. And sometimes that's what I say about arena rock. It's great. And not to get me wrong, I've been to, you know, festivals with 150,000 people, and I felt like, whoa, I'm connected with 150,000 people. But you get it so much more in the tight venues. And what's fascinating about that is how many people who do play the arena rocks, you read interviews with them, and they're asked, what would terrify you the most? You know, I can't imagine as me being a journalist, you know, standing in front of all those many people, and the reply you always get back from these big artists is like, oh, what would terrify me most would be playing in front of 10 people. Because I think when you get to the really high point, you lose what the whole essence of what music's about. And this is the thing that you definitely do it about, and what you speak about, and shines through and everything at Gleewood. It's about, like you just said, that human experience, that showing the emotions, which can carry in 5 to 10 people in a really powerful way, but equally can be taken out to a large environment. But if you haven't got that at the root, you can play in front of 100, you know, I don't know, 20,000 people in an arena, but you take them to a small arena and they're lost because they haven't got that soul. And it's for want of a better word, it's the soul that you're playing with. And that's why I think the small venues play, and the bands who really shine in those environments are the ones that really carry the soul and the rock and roll, as I used to say.
I mean, rock and roll kind of started with the blues,
Cool.
and the blues is all about, you know, the rough experiences you have in life and sitting around a campfire or a back porch and kind of relating your story. I mean, even though rock and roll is, you know, loud and heavy riffage and things, our approach to it is far more about the story and the ballads, and that's just you know, it's important. A lot of people forget that that's the origins of rock and roll, is still very rootsy.
If I can add a little just something to that, you know, you mentioned on the intimacy and the impact that you can make on a small number of people in a small room. And I think as a band, I think that will always be how we approach no matter what we do. I think it'll always be the matter of us wanting to relate to those people in as many ways as we can, regardless of how many there are. And obviously, you know, you can't be personal face to face with 20,000 people after a show. It's just not a possibility. But what you can do is make enough of an impression on as few of those people as you have access to, and touch them in a way where they can go and spread it to the masses. And I think we're in a very fortunate and unique position to be building that in our fan base. You know, word of mouth is so important for us. One at a time. That's really how we see it. You know, one person at a time. If we can have them leave wherever we played with a smile, and they tell the next guy they see, and he comes and sees us, and then they tell the next guy, that's how we're doing it. And wherever that takes us is all part of the journey, but not losing sight of where it came from is very, very much a part of us.
Exactly. And do you know that what you just said then, that whole one step, it's ironic. I posted something just yesterday over the weekend about the Aesop tale of the tortoise and the hare. And I think we live in this world right now where we're just hares everywhere. And ultimately, and I don't think, I mean, Aesop wrote that 2,000 years ago. We haven't changed as much. I mean, great, we've got these technologies and we think we're all this, that, and the other, but in nature, we're still human beings, and that to build anything is a step-by-step connection process. And I said this to you before, and I can say this quite clearly. I think what we're seeing at this moment, and my reflection from being up here in the Highlands of Scotland, I see it, is that in this world of all this tech and stuff like that, I think what's going to, and this is going to serve you well, as I said to you from day one, is you're playing with what you just said, that whole being real. And in the world we're going to go to, the being real and that whole connection and that intimacy and everything we just spoken about is going to be what's going to me, is going to be the great, how we're going to see music in 10 years time. I always relate this to, I mean, I'm an artist, and if I said to anybody, well, name me a great artist pre-1919, and people would go, oh, maybe Van Gogh, but they wouldn't know. If you've gone to the art galleries of France and London and Glasgow in 1913, there would have been all these artists that everyone lauded and thought it was, and then an event came along and all those people were thrown out. Same happened in the Second World War. All the Jewish art that was told it was all denigrated and horrible, afterwards has become some of the greatest artwork in time. And this is what I think we're going through right now. We live in this world of shiny, fake, how many downloads can you get, how many Instagram hits can you get, and that is great. But ultimately, as I say, it relates to that thing. We're still just human beings, and human beings want the experience, and they want that real. And the great things I see right now, we are in this world right now where people like me and you, and we're all, like you said, struggling. We're at the bottom of the ladder, but we have the enjoyment in life. What's going to happen soon is the more that these tools open up, and the more the barriers start to pull down, our audience starts to widen. And it's one of the things you definitely know. I mean, you're talking to me in the Highlands. 10 years ago, that would have been the idea that anyone could over here would even know about that. And it's that idea of the spread. And I think this is what I'm saying. I don't know if you really pick up on it, but I say for someone who's actually, for want of a better, balls deep in it on the road. But I do. I think there's this whole, I don't know, I can feel it in the air. There's a hunger for real essence and real people, and they want in that reality in this world of fake and just 2-minute sound bites. I don't know if it's something it's in America as much, but it's definitely something I almost like feel in the air at the moment.
There's in the music scene, it seems there's, a lot of people don't realize that they're outside of the top 40 charts or the classic rock station. There's actually a ton of incredible musicians and music coming out right now that is real, that is awesome, that is, you've got every kind of genre and melting pot of it. But what's really interesting is definitely there's a sort of charge in the air in the music scene and in the music cultures and towns that we go to, of like that real music of Americana and roots rock and folk rock, and it's bubbling. And Jhett and I feel that within the next 2 or 3 years there will be like a folk rock revival of music that's very real, that's very rootsy. It's just bubbling right now, and there's many like Diddy TV and yourself and other little off branches and offshoots of interviews and music video places that are showing these artists. They're giving them some airtime. They're giving
it is for a specific type of person. It's for people that aren't satisfied with the 10-second clips on their Facebook feeds that essentially say nothing, and the little inspirational memes that are all well and great in front of a picture of clouds that you flick through. I mean, it's like really shallow. It takes longer. It takes longer to say something real and genuine sometimes. You know what I mean?
But that's where authenticity comes from.
That's right. It takes thought, and in a world where everything's instant gratification right now, all the time, there is definitely that energy brewing with programs like yours that are trying to get into more meat and potato subjects.
I think we'll definitely see, some great music, and adversity creates good art, and that's the one blessing, or whatever you want to call it, of the crazy things that are going on in all of our countries, and political upheaval and everything, is this adversity puts us all in this position to be like, no, what is real? What does this mean to me? What do I believe? What do I stand on? And as an artist, you just start creating that, and it will reach others. So it's a good time. It doesn't feel like it, but it's a good time. It's a good era to be in music and to be doing it, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because I think this thing that again, I have to put this reflection out to me, because this is the whole point. I think one of the I always find it, in essence, quite hilarious. Really, we live in this world where we've got all these connections and we can all communicate through these apps and WhatsApps and Facebook and Twitter and all this. But in essence, trying to get the creative people to connect, it still hasn't been bridged. And my reflection I want to make to you, and I'd say it to you personally, and I think it needs to be said in there, that right now there are people that you're never going to meet that are sitting there coding things, building platforms that are going to be the solutions. And this is why I think it's really, really inspiring to me. And that's why I do say these are the greatest days to live in, because right now there are people like the creative who are building this. It's not the suits, it's not the army, it's not the military. It's a bit of a Wild West right now. We've got this small little window and there's a few ragtaggers that's all just sitting there and going, oh. And this is what I really see, what's going on right now. You've got two-pronged attacks. You've got people like yourselves going out there and playing it. And there's a whole set of people like a hidden army are just sitting there like these little coders in these rooms, just building platforms. And that's, to me, is going to be, as I say before, it's one of the greatest times to be alive in, I think, as a musician. I mean, I speak to you as someone's maybe walked down the path a bit longer, but dude, I mean, I would love to be in your position now, being a musician, being that time on the ability, because it's never before. For all the adverse things, like you say, the record companies and all that, but dude, we got like never before have we just got we're at that tipping point. Now, one of this, just again, I think it's supposed to lead on to this. Now, something that somebody asked me this week, and I thought I'd relate it to you personally, because it was asked. Ironically, we were talking about this subject around Gleewood and stuff like this, and it broke down to, and it may be a bit of a left field deep question, but it broke down to what do they. A sort of a philosophical kind of point, really. It's what do we think artists and musicians and what we do? Do we think we're there? And this is what this person was reflecting me. He was basically saying we're just service. We just add a service to the world. And my point was like, okay, I can see that. I can see why certain musicians add a service like bar mitzvahs and stuff. But generally, I think what we do is create product. And this is what frustrates me about the world we live right now. We create products and don't get any returns for it. We just make YouTube and Facebook and all them lot bigger. But it's a deep one. And I was kind of got quite deep into it. And I was sort of saying, no, we do product. When we sit and create something, you put the hours in, you put that up. You're not just giving out a service. Again, I'd love to hear your thoughts from being someone who's in a musician. If that person has come to you and say, "Hey, you're just a bunch of service people, and you should give it all away for free, and we'll tip you for what we feel you're worth." What are your thoughts?
I bet all four of us have a slightly different answer to that. So that's yeah.
As someone who's worked in the service industry a lot, it is not the same thing. Definitely not the same. But I also try to be realistic and know that the compensation for all of the time that we do put in is the pleasure we get from it in and of itself. And if the money doesn't match it, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop, but it would be really nice if it did.
Yeah. Well, I having served in our United States Armed Forces for 5 years, active duty status, I can say that that was service. I did address it that way, and I took pride in it. And in a very different way, I do believe that we are serving something to the people, and it's a service out of love and wanting to serve something up, so to speak, to someone that will maybe change their life or their perspective for the better. Having also worked in the service industries, I can definitely say that the work that I put into my music, I reap so much more of a reward than anything else I've ever done that was a traditional commercial venture or hospitality type of service or something like that. Being able to deliver a product that is a true creation of your heart and soul holds so much more value than serving a plate of food. No matter how much that person enjoys that plate of food, that didn't come from here.
For you,
for me,
but for some people, it does.
For some people, it does. But in my personal experience, I draw a few parallels between the two. The artistic creativity is is something that I've always wanted to offer to people and serve up to people. And I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to do so as a part of Gleewood.
You, Jhett?
You know, I think, you know, speaking only for me personally, I believe that I was created to create. I believe that I was created by a creative God, and I was created for the purpose to create. You know what I mean? And I think we were all made to create in our own unique and special way. And, you know, I mean, it is the service, and knowing how to use what you have to give back to people is important, but it's also very personal. You know, one of my most important tools that I use in the creative process is you know, reading King David's Psalms, you know, and you know, that feeling of, okay, we all experience these things, and we all go through these ups and downs, and these high points in our lives and these low points in our lives. And, you know, through visual art that makes you feel something, takes you back to a moment in your childhood and reminds you of something or someone, or whether it's music, or whether it is a place, whether it is, you know, a plate of food that, you know, it triggers a smell that takes you back to a certain place, or whatever it is that it is that ignites that fire in you that has to be made. I think it's not only when we're following our own passions, we're not only servicing ourselves and being who we were made to be, which is creators, but that's able to pour out onto other people. And the commercial aspect of it in the year 2017, do you have to have some commercial viability? Do you have to be able to tie some things up in a nice little neat package and sell it to someone to make means to make ends meet at the end of the day? Yes, absolutely. And that's an art form all in itself. Yeah, and I work with people that their art form is marketing to other people. And marketing and packaging and creating a product. That's what they're good at. I'm less good at it, but I'm willing to put the elbow grease in for that sort of thing. It's like when you create an amazing dish, you know, you got to clean it up afterwards. You know, that's just part of the world we're living in. But I don't know if that answers. That's like a really indirect way to answer a hard question. But go ahead, Callie.
Oh no, I agree with what all of you guys said. It is different, and exactly, there is art form in the product. And I wish that we didn't live in the world where, you know, we did require money for things. You know, that is a real shame that as human beings, you know, we have to have money in order to survive, to keep creating or to keep doing. It'd be nice if that wasn't the case, but there is part of playing music that is a service, but exactly, it's when it comes from who and what you are, whenever it's not something that you're hired to do necessarily, like I have to create, I have to be creative, I have to play music, or I have to write, or I have to paint, or it's I don't know, I feel like service or serving is a little bit more of a mandatory thing put on you by others, whereas music, you give it out and it just so happens to be felt as a service by others. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know. It's different, I guess, service and product. But I don't know. I agree with what you said, Jhett.
No,
That's a weird question.
No, I just think generally on that, you know, that's the point I was trying to make. I think it can be both. I don't think there needs to disservice. I think we do act as a service. When I do, like I say, when we create, when I'm doing a piece of music or I write a piano, whatever it may be, at that moment, like you said, we're creating in it, and that's the reason we give it away. We don't just sit there and just, you know, store it under our beds, because we think, okay, we want to give it away because it's going to hopefully service somebody in a better way, whatever it may be. You don't have any desire of what it's going to do. But at the end of the day, and I think this relates back to, and I think just to sort of wrap this up, and I think we're probably all on the same page, but I often thought, well, we had this discussion 500 years ago in Europe, and that's why, you know, back in the day, artists particularly, it was all done by patronage. You know, some rich person would come in and go, there you go, monkey boy, paint my room for me or paint my church for me, and I want to see this, that, and the other. And it then became the signature. And it's like, no, because you are producing a product. I mean, and I think it's really important because, you know, when I hear a piece of Gleewood music, I know that it's particularly, maybe, you know, the pieces I've heard have been, you know, it's you and Jhett and Callie. You put your soul, and it's you. It's not a collective thing that just sprung out of the ether. It was no, it took your experiences uniquely through how you've walked your steps, every little individual thing, the experience of being Jhett, the experience of being Callie, that's put through that music that nobody else can have. And that's personal. That, to me, is why it's a product. It's not something that can be reproduced just by a machine. That's, to me, it's what we get down to the root, to the essence of what all this is about, is you're expressing something. There we are. With these meat machines, we can get our brains to connect thoughts that transfer it into our hands, and then they can play music that goes out through a vibrational wave that other person can react to emotionally. That, to me, is something you are producing, not just a service for the greater need of everyone around me because they want to flick their fingers and say, play a tune for me, monkey boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stunned silence. Bring this back
in the beholder, I guess. I mean, sometimes you take your heart out on stage, and, you know, you're handing it to people, and some people grab it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, I love it, thank you so much, and they hand it back to you. And some people just squeeze it and drop it. And
I mean, I think I have a unique perspective, being the one with blue hair that wears the top hat in the project. Oh, excuse me, the one male with blue hair and the top hat. I at least a couple times on this tour was met with some fairly critical eyes in the crowd, and, you know, I've embraced the opportunity to watch that frown turn into a smile over the course of a set or two of our music and our presentation. And, you know, the fact that when we're on stage, you know, I mean, for me, I'm almost swallowing my own head. I'm smiling so big. And I think that that joy and energy transmutes to the crowd. So if there is ever a "Hey Monkey Boy" moment, I don't ever feel like it'll last more than the first set. Yeah.
We work hard on those people, that's for sure.
We do.
We certainly aren't afraid to earn our fans.
Yeah. I like to make eye contact with the monkey boy.
Monkey boy person.
Just
grin them down.
Grin them down.
David Crockett.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now earlier on, obviously you mentioned this, and obviously people, you know, they can, you know, we'll tell them to where to find out these dates. But you've obviously got a few more dates around the States, and then you kind of alluded to this, dude, and it's like we spoke about in the very last time we spoke about you're going to fly over that pond and hit my part of the world. So again, please enlighten the, you know, what you've got in store, and what your thoughts and plans, and what you're looking forward to come over this part of the world.
Well, yeah, we've only got about 6 more shows in the U.S., kind of in the Southwest, before we leave, and then we tried to make it to the U.K. But it didn't work out this time. But we're
trying really hard.
We've already got lots of good plans for July of 2018. So yeah, you didn't hear that. This tour is very interesting because one of Jhett and I's goals since we started was to be able to get to Europe and play music, because we enjoy and love it over there so much. So we actually were doing a house concert over Christmas, like a year and a half ago, and we met quite a few Germans because we have a German Air Force base down here where we live, and had a great time with them. I did a couple more house concerts and shows for them over the course of another year, and they were like, well, we're moving back, and we want you to come play at our home in Germany, or play for our sister, or play for our aunt. And so it actually just started as this whole personal connection with people. And so the majority of the shows are acoustic, they're intimate, they're people's homes, they're listening room environments. And so that's kind of how it started. And then we also music venue shows through other bands and things that we've met. And we have another act that we work with a lot called Secret Circus. And they're originally from Sweden, somehow ended up in Roswell, New Mexico. Probably spaceship activity, I'm not sure, because they're a little strange. Just kidding. But they're really fun, and we're going to be doing a co-tour with them. And so that's kind of how it worked out, to do Sweden and Finland and Germany and Belgium and various other little places. And so we're really looking forward to it. It's a fruit of our labor. It's a kind of more of a promotional investment, and we want to keep coming back. So this is kind of just dipping our toes in the water, checking it out. Bill and Heather were not originally slated to go on the tour because they just joined us a couple weeks ago, and Jhett and I were just planning on doing it as an acoustic duo. And then we did a 4-piece acoustic show. Heather had a stripped-down drum kit, was using a guitar case for a kick pedal, and Bill was playing guitar and Jhett, and I was playing bass, and Bill was singing with harmonies, and it went phenomenally well.
We had so much fun at that acoustic show that we were all, it was kind of like the moment when we first jammed, and we were like, we have to go on tour. It was kind of that same thing, like,
this is going to work out.
This is going to work out. So they're coming with us on the European show.
Exactly. So it'll be Secret Circus, a great kind of indie rock band that does a lot of our music videos, help produce half of our album. And so they're kind of going to be our equipment guys and our driver guys, and then us four. So it's going to be a nice travel party.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, I have to throw the question over to Bill and Heather. Is this your first time in Europe?
Mine. I've never been. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it'll be my first time going to Europe with any sort of a purpose. I went as a post high school backpacker in pre 9/11 2001, and spent about a month and a half with my bags on my back, stomping around all over the place, having a great time. But I'm very, very excited to be going in a purposeful, creative context, and being able to experience it that way. Like Callie was hitting on, this is a very homegrown tour, for us. It's very much an investment in ourselves, and our hopes and expectations are not to come home from this rich, but to come home with experience, and having touched enough people over there that when we come back, we can bring it at another level.
Right. I can't hear you, Tim. Sorry.
I was saying, if nothing else, you're going to get to see some beautiful parts of Europe, man. I mean, I've lived in Europe all my life, and I've yet to go to Sweden. And I've had so many people say, "Oh, you've got to go up to Sweden." It's just so, and there's something. It's quite ironic, really, because a lot of people go to Europe. They love to go. Oh, I must go to Milan. I must go to Paris. I must go to Barcelona, and they do all that kind of the old sort of stomping tour, but. Trust me, for somebody who's European born and bred, man, some of the best parts of the northern further extremes like Norway and Denmark and places like this, they're just off the beaten track, which tends to be all the things you would know about. Again, full circle to this conversation about America. The further you get away from big cities, the better the chilled, the more people become. So in some ways, it's a bit of a blessing in disguise. You're doing Sweden rather than doing sort of like London and Paris, well, especially Paris at the moment. I mean, that's going to be the reflection you're going to see completely. And I'll be interested to talk to you after you've been over here, because Europe has definitely changed, definitely since you've been across, Bill, dude. It's a different place over here at the moment, man. I mean, it's it's still a practical level. I'll just give you a heads up in the moment. It's even just to get around, it's like 3 or 4 hour waits in airports at the moment because of all these new restrictions. So just be heads up on that one. When you're going to go, you think, oh, okay, we'll fly from wherever you're flying out in America. Dude, if you're going from one part to Europe, you'll be expecting a 4 or 5 hour queue, and that's a European. So I don't know what they put you in the back of the line, Trump line, like, get in there, you dirty Americans.
The Trump line.
Yeah.
We're hoping for the best as far as that goes, but
we've got our Canadian flag pins ready.
Yeah. No, we're going to maintain as much flexibility as is needed to accommodate the the travel restrictions and anything like that. You know, I think Callie and Jhett are so diligent in anything that they do that you know, I think the preparation will be there by the time we get on the plane. And right, guys?
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I think when it all comes down to it, no matter what happens or how it goes, I know that we're going to do the best we can, and we're going to make the very best of it, and do the best to deliver us.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's what it all comes down to.
Perfect.
But we all know that the end game is Scotland.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're ending up.
Yeah.
Sure, man.
That's what we want to hear over here. I was just going to say, man, and the other one obviously relating to this, and again, you obviously with introduction of Bill and Heather into this, and you know, obviously something you've got in a sort of, you know, your minds at the moment. Have you started the process of putting together new songs for a new EP stroke album? I mean, have you actually started? I mean, have you as all four of you actually come up with a kind of new song that wasn't around before you became a foursome, for want of a better word? That sounds really dodgy.
Well, definitely.
We did start on one right before we left for tour. And we have a lot of songs in our pockets that are like unreleased material and like a lot of drafts of songs, you know, pieces of lyrics that go with pieces of music that we want to assemble. And this winter, you know, we've been blowing and going so much that it is hard to write on the road. We collect a lot of material, but don't get a lot of chance to really write. So the four of us are going to stick to our guns, and we're going to take some time off this winter and focus on writing alone and not playing shows and not booking and not, you know, not doing the promo campaigns, but just really holding up and getting material ready. So that's definitely on.
Nice, man. And again, I think that serves as some sort of duality to the road thing. I think once you've gone out, done the road thing, gone over to Europe and all that, you'll be in the mood for sitting down and just sitting and writing tunes. And I say it again, and I don't know what the, you know, winters are like in where, you know, down in your part of New Mexico, but I always sort of think the winter times is the best time to be creative anyway. I'm always like this because it's, again, in Scotland, the winters are just, you know, short days, cold, wet, windy, and it's just you bunker down and you just sit and create, and then the minute the sun comes out, you really enjoy it. So yeah, I think you, like I say, it's a duality of going out on the road and the burnout and just having some time to chill out. So I'm really looking forward to that. And the other thing I have to, again, there's a couple of things that since our last conversation and people have been posting me to tell it, so I have to again reflect to you, because I know what it's like when you're in the middle of a, you know, like a band or anything creative, you don't get to hear sort of like insights from the outside world. And people have really commented to me about how your merch, I mean, I personally think some of your merch, your t-shirts are absolutely mind-blowing. And again, are you planning to put a set of merch out for your, you know, your European experience, maybe a European like tour dates on the back or something, or is that being a bit too pretentious?
We do, yeah, we do actually have a really fun European tour design that the tattoo artist that did, I don't know if you can see it, mine and Bill's, she is from Sweden, and she made and she's connected with Secret Circus, so she drew out this awesome piece of kind of both bands, kind of both of our styles.
And then Klaus finished it.
And then Klaus with Secret Circus, you know, finished it up, and so we've got that shirt printed right now, limited edition, and then yeah, we're gonna do a official tour one with the dates on the back, and release a couple of new little designs and things before we head over there for sure. And we have a lot of fun. We're all pretty flamboyant dressers. We kind of just came out of the van, not very flamboyant today, but and we know the quality of good band shirt, and so we have to continue making some really fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you can find all of our current merch, I think, on bandcamp.gleewood.com.
Or just right through our website.
Or right through our website, which is Glee. Yeah.
That's what I say. again, that's going to be something that maybe I'll have a chat with you offline at some point. We need to put you some way of paying for this through Bitcoin. I know that's one of the things I've been. Someone points to me like, "Oh, they need to have a Bitcoin wallet out there so people can donate to you with cryptocurrencies." But
I know. We're really slacking on that, and we've had more and more people talking to us about it.
We're going to be working on that.
But yeah, I would like to talk to you about that and get some pointers and get that ball rolling, because it's time, man. It's totally time.
Well, dude, on the very fact it's time as well, man. And this is, again, I'm not going to sort of, I'll deliberately be very quiet at this. And, you know, but like I said, we're building an N99, and come your next few months, we're going to be going live. So we'll do everything we will do as to promote you and raise awareness, because, and again, this is a reflection I like to say, and I've been told to say tonight, you are honestly inspiring people that you'll never meet. I know the coders are, well, that's what I'm saying, hopefully you're going to meet this weekend, but they love your stuff, man. And they sit there and they code to it and do it too. So, like I said before, it's a reflection I want to give. There's solutions coming, and there's little group of little big people all working away, chipping away, just to do things to help you lot and help people like us who are creative people, and maybe give us just a bit of a fair platform in this new world. Now, look, man, I'm running, nearly 3:45 in the morning over here, man. It's been a long day, so I wanted to finish this conversation off with running from the man. Now, while I'm queuing this up, I want to again thank you all for coming along. It's been great to meet you, Bill and Heather. Hopefully, maybe a small chance I might come across to see you in Sweden or in Europe. But again, that's all down to time and everything else. But it'd be great to. I mean, I'm kind of feeling. I was talking to my beloved and saying, look, we've got to take some time out to go and see them. But anyway, I want to thank you for your time. It's like I say, it's been great to meet you, Bill and Heather. And like I say, but I look forward to that. I can actually put my arms around all four of you and actually give you a proper human to human hug rather than just this Google crap connections, man. But like I say, thank you very much for your time. Again, I'll put the links up where people can find you. Again, maybe tell people where they can reach out and find you. Thank you very much for your time tonight. And like I say, I'm going to queue up running. I'm going to queue up running, man. And while I am doing that, again, just give us I don't know, maybe a bit of how that song came about, what you're trying to get across, what the sort of lyrics are all about. And like I say, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tim.
Us.
We love Life as People, and we check out the other interviews as often as we can. So thank you very much.
We believe in what you're doing.
We do. And Running from the Man is kind of a collection of, it's basically 2016 in a nutshell. We had a lot of crazy tours and crazy experiences, and that one was one that we wrote on the road,
in the van,
finished on the road, and played the night we finished it with our drummer Chavo last year. And we're all kind of running from something. Most of the time, it's old father time. It's kind of what the song's about, and just includes a bunch of little stories and fun little odes to experiences we had.
Even the recording process kind of, I mean, the song's about trials and tribulations and hard knocks, and always trying to scrape by, and really, so the recording of it was actually the same way. Our whole band bailed on us on the day of recording for that song. So me and Callie, me and her with a kick drum and a tambourine and a guitar and a bass, and we said, you know what, that's pretty that's it. That fits the song. Yeah.
Running over mountains, yeah, I'm jumping over seas. Keep that engine rolling, boys, till the whole state. Father time has made the call, that man sure is mean. With two arms round and round, he's chasing after me. Run, 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 running from that man. Run, 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 running from that man. driving by, always tied this road that never ends. Shoes worn out miles ago, but still dragging me. Trapped the man in the soul, can't leave him there to die. Filled our load to Denver air and took out towards the sky. Run, 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 running from that man. Run, 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 running from that man. Stumbling through the Rockies, headed for the coast. Lost my mind in Reno with my heart in Idaho. Baptized my soul in the South, got it good and clean. Found my love in my voice down in New Orleans. Running over mountains, man, I'm jumping over the seas. Keep that engine rolling, boys, sail for the state. Father time has made it go, that man sure is me. When two bones run around, he's chasing after me. Run, 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 running from that man. Run, 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 running from that man. When you lay me in the ground, my mother starts to cry. Raise a glass and sing a song with a 1, 4, and 5. Leave an extra set of strings and a bottle full of gin, so I can write a song for you where the chorus never ends.